Time to place the Washington Commanders under the spotlight, a franchise with 3 Super Bowl titles, Hall of Fame legends, and one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. But it's also a team marked by decades of controversy, name changes, and struggles to recapture former glory. From the Redskins dynasty of the 1980s to the chaos of the 2000s to a new identity as the Commanders, Washington's story is one of triumph, turmoil, and transformation. But here's the question. Can this franchise finally turn the page and build a new era of success in the nation's capital? You're watching Spotlight Stories NFL, where every team has a story and we put them under the spotlight. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. The Washington franchise has one of the longest and most complicated histories in professional football, stretching back to its founding in 1932. Originally established in Boston as the Boston Braves, the team shared Braves Field with the baseball club of the same name. A year later, they moved to Fenway Park and rebranded as the Boston Redskins. Despite modest success, the franchise struggled to draw fans in Boston. In 1937, owner George Preston Marshall relocated the team to Washington, D.C., where they quickly became a centerpiece of the nation's capital. The move paid immediate dividends. In their very first season in Washington, the team drafted Sammy Baugh, one of the NFL's first great passing quarterbacks. Nicknamed Slingin' Sammy, Baugh revolutionized the forward pass and became a national star, leading Washington to the NFL championship in 1937. He guided them to another title in 1942 and cemented himself as one of the league's true pioneers. Under Marshall, the team grew in prominence but also gained notoriety for controversy. Marshall was the last NFL owner to integrate his roster, refusing to sign black players until 1962 when federal pressure forced him to change. That year, Washington drafted Ernie Davis, the Heisman Trophy-winning halfback, though Davis was tragically diagnosed with leukemia and never played a game. While Marshall's segregationist policies left a permanent stain on the franchise, the arrival of players like Bobby Mitchell in the 1960s brought new talent and helped the team evolve. By the 1970s, Washington had become a true NFL powerhouse. Under head coach George Allen, the team reached Super Bowl VII with the famed Over-the-Hill Gang, a roster stacked with veteran stars. Though they lost to the undefeated Miami Dolphins, Allen's teams were consistently competitive. The franchise's true golden age came in the 1980s and early 1990s under Joe Gibbs, who crafted one of the NFL's most versatile dynasties. Gibbs led Washington to 3 Super Bowl championships, 1982, 1987, 1991, with 3 different starting quarterbacks, Joe Theismann, Doug Williams, and Mark Rypien, a feat still unmatched in league history. Doug Williams' victory in Super Bowl 22 was historic, as he became the first black quarterback to start and win a Super Bowl, throwing 4 touchdown passes in a single quarter. Gibbs' Washington teams were known for their punishing run game, creative offense, and the legendary Hogs offensive line, which dominated opponents in the trenches. Washington's loyal fan base also made RFK Stadium one of the most intimidating venues in football. The stands literally shook with noise during the glory years, and burgundy and gold pride became synonymous with Sundays in D.C. But the decades that followed were defined by turmoil. After Gibbs' retirement in 1992, the team spiraled into inconsistency. Under owner Dan Snyder, who purchased the team in 1999, Washington became notorious for dysfunction, failed free agent splashes, and constant coaching changes. From 1993 to 2022, the franchise recorded only 6 playoff victories. Off the field, Snyder's tenure was marred by scandal and investigations into workplace misconduct, eventually leading to his sale of the team in 2023. The franchise's identity also shifted dramatically after years of criticism over the Redskins name, which Native American groups had long considered offensive. The team finally retired the name in 2020. They played as the Washington football team for 2 seasons before unveiling their new identity as the Washington Commanders in 2022. Fun fact number 1, did you know Washington played in the very first televised NFL game? On October 22, 1939, the Redskins faced the Philadelphia Eagles in a game broadcast locally in New York by NBC. It was the first time an NFL game was ever shown on television, making Washington part of football broadcasting history. Washington's uniforms and logos have undergone some of the most visible and controversial changes in NFL history. reflecting the franchise's shifting identity over the decades. When the team was founded in Boston in 1932, they wore brown and gold uniforms with a simple block letter B logo on their helmets. After being renamed the Redskins in 1933, the team adopted burgundy and gold as its permanent colors, a combination that has endured to this day. The first true logo featured a simple Native American head in profile, introduced in the late 1930s. Over the years, the logo evolved. In the 1960s, Washington introduced a spear design on the side of its helmets, a minimalist but striking look. Then, in 1972, the franchise unveiled the circular Native American profile logo that would become synonymous with the team for nearly 50 years. Surrounded by gold feathers, the logo became one of the NFL's most recognizable symbols. During this era, the Redskins rose to prominence under George Allen and later Joe Gibbs, with the logo firmly tied to the team's golden age and 3 Super Bowl victories. But as decades passed, controversy surrounding the name and logo grew louder. Many Native American groups and civil rights advocates called the imagery offensive. For years, the franchise resisted change, citing tradition and fan attachment. Finally, in 2020, after mounting social and corporate pressure, the team officially retired the Redskins name and logo. For 2 seasons, they played as the Washington football team, adopting a stripped-down look, burgundy helmets with only gold player numbers on the side, reminiscent of their early Spear-era design. While intended as a temporary identity, it gave Washington a clean slate while they worked on a permanent rebrand. In 2022, the team revealed its new identity as the Washington Commanders, introducing a bold B logo as the centerpiece. The current helmet is matte burgundy with a gold face mask featuring either the doe or a stylized crest that includes references to the team's 3 Super Bowl championships. The Commanders also introduced alternate black uniforms with gold accents, a modern twist aimed at appealing to younger fans, alongside their traditional burgundy and white sets. As for stadiums, Washington's most iconic home was RFK Stadium, where the team played from 1961 to 1996. RFK was a true fortress. Its stands literally shook when fans stomped and chanted, and the crowd atmosphere became legendary during Joe Gibbs' dynasty years. In 1997, the team moved to FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, which was originally one of the largest stadiums in the NFL, with over 91,000 seats at its peak. While FedEx has hosted countless games, it has long been criticized for poor sightlines, outdated facilities, and a lack of the atmosphere that defined RFK. Many fans still nostalgically point to RFK as the true home of Washington football. Looking ahead, new ownership is actively pursuing a plan to build a new state-of-the-art stadium in the Washington, D.C. metro area, one that better honors the franchise's history and reconnects the team with its fan base. Potential designs include a retractable roof to host major events, but also a return to the intimidating feel that made RFK so special. Fun fact number 2, did you know RFK Stadium literally shook during games? The old home of Washington football, RFK Stadium, was so raucous during the 1980s dynasty that its stands would physically bounce up and down when fans stomped and chanted. Engineers later confirmed the building was structurally sound, but the RFK bounce became a legendary part of the team's home field advantage. Washington's first golden era came with Sammy Baugh in the late 1930s and 1940s. Known as Slingin' Sammy, Baugh revolutionized the forward pass and helped lead the team to NFL championships in 1937 and 1942. The franchise's greatest era, however, was the Joe Gibbs dynasty of the 1980s and early 1990s. Gibbs was a master strategist who built dominant offensive lines, punishing run games and creative passing attacks. Under his leadership, Washington won 3 Super Bowls in a 10-year span. Super Bowl 17, 1982 season plus a 27-17 win over the Dolphins, highlighted by John Riggins' legendary 43-yard touchdown run on 4th and 1. Super Bowl 22, 1987 season, and Doug Williams became the first black quarterback to start and win a Super Bowl, throwing 4 touchdowns in the second quarter alone in a blowout of the Denver Broncos. Super Bowl 26, 1991 season, Mark Rypien led Washington to a 37-24 victory over the Buffalo Bills in one of the most dominant seasons in NFL history. The 1991 team in particular is often ranked among the greatest NFL teams ever, finishing 14-2 in the regular season and steamrolling their way through the playoffs. Fun fact number 3, did you know George Preston Marshall introduced the fight song tradition. Owner George Preston Marshall commissioned Hail to the Redskins in 1938, one of the NFL's first official fight songs. Played by a live marching band at Griffith Stadium, it set a precedent for team songs and pre-game traditions across the league. For all their glory, Washington has endured long stretches of struggle. After Joe Gibbs retired for the first time in 1992, the franchise entered a decades-long decline. Poor ownership under Dan Snyder, constant coaching changes, and questionable free agent signings left the team mired in mediocrity. From 1993 to 2022, Washington managed just 6 playoff victories. The controversies surrounding the Redskins' name and Snyder's ownership further stained the team's reputation. Investigations into workplace misconduct, financial improprieties, and toxic culture led to record fines and ultimately forced Snyder to sell the team in 2023. For many fans, his departure was seen as the true turning point for the franchise's future. On the field, the franchise has also endured heartbreaks, from repeated playoff failures to the notorious body bag game in 1990 against the Eagles, where an avalanche of injuries highlighted the team's vulnerability. The Commanders of recent years have shown flashes of potential, but have yet to recapture their former dominance. Washington's long and storied history has produced some of the NFL's most memorable players, men whose legacies shaped both the franchise and the league. At the foundation stands Sammy Baugh, the original superstar quarterback who revolutionized the forward pass in the 1930s and 40s, leading Washington to 2 NFL championships. Then there's John Riggins, the bruising running back whose fearless style and legendary 43-yard touchdown run in Super Bowl XVII still stands as one of the most iconic moments in NFL history. The 1980s dynasty years introduced more icons. Joe Theismann, the fiery and charismatic quarterback, guided Washington to victory in Super Bowl XVII and became one of the franchise's most recognized faces of that decade. His career ended tragically in 1985 with a devastating leg injury on Monday Night Football, but his leadership and success left a lasting legacy. Doug Williams etched his name into NFL history in 1987 when he became the first black quarterback to start and win a Super Bowl. In Super Bowl XXII, Williams threw 4 touchdown passes in a single quarter, leading Washington to a 42-10 victory over Denver and breaking barriers for generations of players who came after him. On the defensive side, Darrell Green became one of the most beloved players in franchise history. Nicknamed the Ageless Wonder, Green played 20 seasons in Washington, renowned for his blazing speed and unmatched consistency at cornerback. A 2-time Super Bowl champion and 7-time Pro Bowler, Green's loyalty, athleticism, and community presence made him a fan favorite for decades. Washington's dynasty also relied on the legendary Hogs offensive line: Russ Grimm, Joe Jacoby, Jeff Bostic, Mark May, and George Stark, whose dominance in the trenches defined Joe Gibbs' power football identity. On defense, Dexter Manley, the franchise's all-time sack leader, brought relentless energy, while Sean Taylor, though his career was tragically cut short, remains an enduring symbol of talent and passion. Modern icons include players like Clinton Portis, one of the most productive running backs of the 2000s, and more recently Terry McLaurin, who has become the face of the Commanders' offense in the new era. Fun fact number 4. Did you know Sammy Baugh was the NFL's first true triple threat? In 1943, Slingin' Sammy Baugh led the league in passing, punting, and interceptions, all in the same season. He threw 23 touchdowns, averaged 45.9 yards per punt, and snagged 11 interceptions playing defense. No player has ever replicated that feat. Washington's coaching history has been marked by legendary figures, long stretches of instability, and constant reinvention. In the early years, Ray Flaherty was the franchise's first great coach, guiding the team to NFL championships in 1937 and 1942 with Slingin' Sammy Baugh at quarterback. Decades later, George Allen brought new life to Washington when he arrived in 1971. Known for his fiery personality and motto, "The future is now," Allen built his roster around veteran players, famously dubbed the Over-the-Hill Gang. In just his second season, he led Washington to Super Bowl VII, where they fell to the undefeated Miami Dolphins. Though Allen never delivered a Lombardi, he made Washington a consistent contender and set the stage for future glory. The franchise's golden age came with Joe Gibbs, who took over in 1981. Gibbs became a master architect of dynasties, winning three Super Bowls 1982, 1987, 1991, with three different quarterbacks Joe Theismann, Doug Williams, and Mark Rypien, a feat unmatched in NFL history. Gibbs's innovative offenses, paired with the dominance of the Hogs' offensive line, made Washington one of the most feared teams in football. Gibbs briefly returned from 2004 to 2007, bringing playoff appearances, but never recapturing the heights of his first tenure. Since Gibbs' first retirement in 1992, Washington has cycled through a carousel of coaches from Norv Turner to Steve Spurrier, Marty Schottenheimer, and Mike Shanahan, all of whom struggled to find sustained success. Ron Rivera was hired in 2020 to stabilize the franchise during the name change era and brought leadership through turbulent years. However, after a disappointing 4-13 campaign in 2023, Rivera was dismissed. In 2024, Washington turned to Dan Quinn, the former Atlanta Falcons head coach and defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. Quinn is known for his energetic leadership and defensive acumen, having led Atlanta to a Super Bowl appearance in 2016. His task now is to rebuild the Commanders into a disciplined, competitive team while developing their young roster. Fans hope Quinn's arrival signals the beginning of a new, more stable era in the nation's capital. Fun fact number 5. Did you know Washington once had a female owner decades before it was common? When founder George Preston Marshall died in 1969, his wife, Corinne Griffith, briefly became majority owner of the team. A former silent film actress nicknamed the Orchid Lady of the Screen, she was one of the first women to own a stake in an NFL team. The Commanders entered the 2025 NFL Draft with only 5 selections, but they used them wisely to target areas of need on both sides of the ball. In the first round, with the 29th overall pick, Washington selected Josh Conerly Jr., a powerful and athletic offensive tackle from Oregon. Conerly is expected to step in quickly and help solidify an offensive line that has long been an issue for the franchise. In the second round at pick 61, they turned to the defense, drafting Trey Amos, a cornerback from Ole Miss known for his physicality and upside, adding depth to a secondary that struggled with consistency in 2024. Without a third-round pick, the Commanders waited until the fourth round to address their receiving corps, taking Jalen Lane, a speedy wideout from Virginia Tech, with the 128th selection. Lane brings quickness and big play ability, giving the offense another weapon to complement Terry McLaurin. In the sixth round, Washington added Kane Medrano, a linebacker from UCLA who projects as a special teams contributor with the potential to grow into a rotational role on defense. Finally, with their seventh-round pick at number 245, they selected J. Corey Bill Krosky Merritt, a running back out of Arizona with strong vision and burst, providing valuable depth behind Brian Robinson Jr. Though it wasn't a large draft class, Washington's 2025 haul was practical and need-focused. Conerly provides long-term stability at tackle. Amos adds a young corner with upside, and Lane, Medrano, and Krosky Merritt give the roster speed and depth. Analysts graded the class as a step in the right direction for a franchise trying to rebuild a core for the future. From Sammy Baugh to Joe Gibbs, from the glory of 3 Super Bowls to decades of mediocrity under Dan Snyder, Washington's history has been a roller coaster. Now, with new ownership, a fresh identity, and a new era on the horizon, the Commanders have a chance to reclaim their place among the NFL's proud franchises. The question now is simple. Can this once storied team rise again in the nation's capital, or will the struggles of the past continue to haunt them? Don't forget to like and subscribe to Spotlight Stories NFL, where every team has a story and we put them under the spotlight.